Kevin Stefanski's attempt to publicly support Jeudy might have come from a place of empathy, but for Jimmy Haslam, it crossed a line. Haslam's history of direct involvement in team matters is no secret, and sources suggest he wasn't pleased to see Jeudy shielded from criticism while Shedeur Sanders, a high-profile rookie investment, absorbed the brunt of the blame. The confrontation between Jeudy and Sanders was more than emotional fallout. It exposed a fissure in team dynamics that ownership saw as threatening to the broader strategic goals. Haslam's displeasure hints at consequences far more serious than anyone on that sideline realized.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
When players argue, it's personal. When owners react, it's structural. This isn't just about emotions spilling over. It's about performance, perception, and power. Sanders is trying to lead through adversity. Jeudy's trying to reclaim relevance. And the organization is caught between supporting its veterans and shaping its future around a rookie quarterback. Haslam's stance makes one thing clear. How the situation is handled will echo beyond one locker room and into the organization's future plans. Real consequences, trades, demotions, or changes in the pecking order are now very much in play. The moment Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders clashed on the sideline during the Broncos' 49ers game, the reaction was immediate. It was heated. It was public. But it wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing. That confrontation didn't start in the second quarter. It started months ago, with misconnections, declining trust, and a locker room that's been quietly unraveling. And now, it's out in the open. That sideline argument pulled the curtain back on what's really happening inside this team. This isn't just about one bad game. This is about a veteran wide receiver who feels overlooked, a rookie quarterback trying to assert control, a coach stuck between two timelines, and somehow a franchise owner from another team reportedly threatening a head coach in defense of someone who doesn't even wear his uniform. Because yes, that happened. According to reports, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, who's kept a close eye on this entire situation, wasn't happy when Kevin Stefanski tried to defend Jeudy. Not happy as in disagree politely. No, Haslam allegedly threatened Stefanski for siding with Jeudy over Sanders. The message was clear. Toe the line or suffer the consequences. This takes what was already a chaotic moment and turns it into something bigger, something systemic. Haslam has a track record of getting directly involved in player situations. From controversial trades to coaching hires, he doesn't just sign checks. He shapes the narrative. And in this case, he appears ready to put his weight behind Shedeur Sanders, a rookie who, despite being new to the league, is already being positioned as the Broncos' long-term leader. With Haslam reportedly involved, it adds another layer of pressure on the coaching staff, on the locker room, and most of all on Jeudy. Jeudy's visible frustration during that game didn't come from nowhere. It was rooted in performance struggles, yes, but also a growing feeling of disconnect. Drops, mental mistakes, and a lack of trust from Sanders all came to a head. When your quarterback no longer looks your way, when your targets dry up, and when the coaching staff stops scheming for you, it's hard not to take that personally, especially when you're a player who's supposed to be a key part of the offense. But while Jeudy was unraveling, Sanders was trying to manage the moment. He didn't escalate. He didn't match the energy. He responded with what people are calling poise and leadership. And he did what rookie quarterbacks rarely do well, de-escalate. That earned him points with ownership. It's part of why Haslam is so locked in. Because Sanders, even in the heat of a game and under direct challenge from a frustrated veteran, didn't panic. That kind of response, especially from a rookie, signals maturity and potential. But this isn't just about two players with different approaches. This is about a fractured team identity. Right now, the Broncos are split between past and future. Jeudy represents what was supposed to work. Sanders is the hope of what could work. And caught in the middle is Kevin Stefanski, a coach who tried to defend his player and got caught in the crosshairs of an ownership narrative that's no longer interested in nuance. There's no stability at quarterback. Jeudy has already played with 3 different QBs this season. That lack of consistency has a domino effect. Chemistry disappears. Timing suffers. and when timing suffers. So does trust add in Sanders, who's trying to build something new with different pieces? And you've got a misalignment that goes deeper than stats. This is emotional. It's psychological. And it's not just affecting the field. It's shaking the entire foundation. When leadership from the owner down is this involved, players take notice. They know who's protected. They know who's been marked expendable. Jeudy's visible frustration wasn't just a personal meltdown. It was the expression of someone who knows the offense has moved on without him. But what happens when a team chooses one player's development at the expense of its chemistry? That's the risk Denver's running. Sanders, for all his composure, still needs to build real two-way trust with his teammates. That takes more than keeping your cool on the sideline. It means rallying the locker room, making guys feel seen, and navigating those moments where emotions boil over, not by freezing people out, but by finding a path forward. Jeudy, meanwhile, is on borrowed time. His production is down. His attitude is being questioned. And now, with a port of ownership favoring Sanders and threatening coaches who support him, Jeudy's position has never been more vulnerable. He's at a crossroads. Rise to the moment or fade out of the picture. For Stefanski, it's an even tighter corner. By backing Jeudy, he didn't just make a coaching call. He stepped into a power struggle. If Haslam's influence is strong enough to dictate coaching decisions, then every move Stefanski makes going forward is going to be under the microscope. There's no room for missteps and less room for independent judgment. If the locker room senses that leadership is no longer unified, the season could spiral fast. And that's where the next 5 games come into play. This isn't just a stretch of the schedule. This is the crucible. Can Sanders solidify his leadership? Can Jeudy earn back trust and reinsert himself into the offense? Can Stefanski maintain control without compromising his integrity or his job? Or will these fractures grow deeper, with more outbursts, more decisions made above the coaching level, and more players checking out emotionally? The window is closing, and everyone knows it. Denver is at an inflection point. If they manage this right, they could build something solid around Sanders. A team that can weather tension, bounce back from conflict, and grow together. But if they keep papering over issues, picking favorites, and silencing the wrong voices, they're going to lose the locker room before they ever fix the scoreboard. And the NFL has seen this before. Teams that invest in a singular identity without addressing internal fractures always implode. Chemistry matters. Trust matters. And right now, Denver is hanging on by a thread in both categories. So where does this all end? If Jeudy doesn't get involved in the offense soon, expect trade talks to ramp up. If Sanders can't connect with the locker room beyond just being composed, expect some veterans to pull away. If Stefanski continues to be undermined, expect ownership to start shopping for someone more aligned. And if Haslam keeps inserting himself in this way, the ripple effect won't stop at the sidelines. It'll reach every level of the organization. It started with a few heated words on the sideline. It could end with a full-blown reset. But what do you think? Should Stefanski have backed off? Or was he right to support Jeudy? Is Haslam crossing the line, or just protecting the future of the team? Can Shedeur actually lead this group, or is the locker room already divided beyond repair? Let us know in the comments. Hit like if you've been watching this team unravel. Share this if you know someone who's still trying to make sense of it all. And make sure you're subscribed, because the way this story is going, we're far from the final chapter. What's happening in Denver right now isn't just a drama. It's a slow-motion collapse being broadcast in real time. What started as a sideline confrontation has now exposed the entire blueprint of a fractured team, a fractured culture, and at the center of it all, a question that no one seems to be able to answer. Who's really in charge? Is it the head coach, trying to keep his team together in the midst of a chemistry crisis? Is it the rookie quarterback, now being branded as the face of the franchise before he's even finished his first season? Or is it Jimmy Haslam, an owner from another team, reportedly dictating the fate of players and staff in a situation that's spiraling out of control? Because that last piece? That's the one nobody can wrap their head around. When reports emerged that Haslam had threatened Kevin Stefanski for defending Jerry Jeudy in the wake of the altercation with Shedeur Sanders, everything shifted. Suddenly, this wasn't about tempers flaring in a competitive game. It was about power, influence, favoritism. And in a league that prides itself on structure and chain of command, this is chaos. Let's be honest. Jeudy didn't handle the situation well. The outburst was public, loud, and frankly, the kind of scene that coaches hate. But to dismiss it as just a player throwing a tantrum is to ignore everything that led up to that moment. This wasn't the first sign of frustration. It's been weeks of tension, drops, miscommunications, diminishing usage. A wide receiver who once looked like a key part of the Broncos' offense is now being phased out, and he knows it. When your name stops getting called, when your QB stops looking your way, when you feel like the coaching staff has moved on without telling you, that builds up, it wears you down, and eventually it comes out. In this case, it came out in front of millions. Shedeur Sanders, for his part, stayed calm. He didn't yell back. He didn't escalate. He tried to explain. That restraint has been praised as maturity, and rightfully so. For a rookie quarterback to take that kind of confrontation and not let it spiral is impressive, but let's not pretend the situation ended there, because the fallout is where things really got ugly. Kevin Stefanski, caught in the middle of a divided locker room, made a choice. He stood by Jeudy. He acknowledged the frustration, the declining connection, and the emotional toll of being sidelined. And that support, that simple gesture of leadership, was reportedly enough for Haslam to threaten him. Not question, not disagree, threaten. And that tells you everything you need to know about where this team is headed. Because when ownership starts punishing coaches for defending players who are clearly struggling emotionally and professionally, it stops being about football. It becomes about optics, narrative control, loyalty tests. And in that environment, no one wins. Not Jeudy, whose career is now dangling by a thread in a system that's written him off. Not Stefanski, who's now trying to coach a team with one hand tied behind his back. Not even Sanders, who, despite his growing leadership skills, is being positioned in a way that might turn teammates against him before he's even had the chance to truly earn their respect. This is what happens when the people at the top start choosing sides instead of solving problems. The Broncos are now in a place where performance is secondary to politics, where frustration is punished instead of addressed, and where leadership, instead of being about bringing people together, has become about picking the right person to support or else. And let's talk about that or else. Haslam's reported threat to Stefanski isn't just a headline. It's a warning to every player and coach in that building. Fall in line with the Sanders plan, or be prepared to find the exit. That doesn't just affect Jeudy. It affects everyone. Because now the message is out. If you speak up, even if you're a coach, you're replaceable. How do you build a healthy locker room under that kind of pressure? Short answer, you don't. You build a fragile one, a tense one, a quiet one, a place where no one says what they're really thinking, because they don't know who's listening, where players don't challenge each other, because accountability looks too much like insubordination, and where coaches stop coaching, because every decision is weighed against whether it aligns with what the owner wants, not what the team needs. The irony here? The Jeudy-Sanders confrontation could have been a turning point, a teachable moment, a chance for the team to confront the communication breakdown head-on and rebuild some trust. Instead, it became a power play, a test of loyalty. And right now, loyalty isn't being measured in effort or growth. It's being measured in silence. Meanwhile, Jeudy's future with the team looks bleak. Every drop, every missed opportunity, every moment he spends out of sync with the quarterback is another mark against him. And with ownership so clearly behind Sanders, it's hard to see a scenario where Jeudy gets a real chance to turn things around. He's not just playing football anymore. He's playing politics. And Sanders? He's walking a fine line. The leadership he's shown so far is promising. He's composed. He's thoughtful. But if he's going to truly lead this team, he has to connect with everyone, not just the people ownership approves of. That means finding a way to rebuild trust with veterans like Jeudy, to prove that he's not just a figurehead, but a teammate, because if the locker room sees him as the chosen one, rather than one of them, it's going to be a long road ahead. As for Stefanski, his job just became a balancing act. Coach the team, hold the locker room together, and somehow avoid crossing the invisible lines drawn by an owner who's already threatened to push him out. That's not leadership. That's damage control. And if Denver doesn't fix this fast, the damage is going to spread. This team is now operating under a microscope. Every game, every interaction, every coaching decision. The pressure isn't just on the field. It's embedded in the culture. And if they're not careful, this one sideline argument will become the symbol of an entire season lost to dysfunction. The next few weeks are critical. The window to fix this is now. Can Jeudy be reintegrated into the offense? Can Sanders grow into a leader everyone believes in? Not just ownership? Can Stefanski coach with the trust of his locker room and his bosses? Can this team remember that football is about more than narratives? It's about people? Or is this just the beginning of a complete... And here's where things really get uncomfortable. This whole mess isn't just about two players butting heads in a moment of stress. It's about what happens when an entire organization loses its balance, when power starts pulling in too many directions, when communication fails, not just between a quarterback and his receiver, but between coaches, front office, and ownership. This is a franchise trying to build something new while standing on crumbling ground. Let's look at Jerry Jeudy, a player once seen as a cornerstone of the offense, a polished route runner with explosive potential. But this season, he's fading, not because the talent disappeared overnight, but because the foundation he's supposed to stand on, quarterback trust, game planning, leadership support, has eroded underneath him. You can see it in his body language. You can hear it in the tone of his post-game interviews. This isn't just a slump, it's a disconnect. And instead of working to fix it, the team seems more interested in moving on from it. That's what makes the situation more dangerous than your average sideline dust-up. Because it's not just that Jeudy's not producing. It's that the people in power have stopped investing in his success. They're not trying to rebuild the chemistry. They're not finding new ways to get him involved. They're quietly shifting focus toward Shedeur Sanders. Sanders, the rookie who now finds himself in the eye of a very uncomfortable storm. To his credit, he's handled it well. He didn't snap back during the argument. He didn't throw Jeudy under the bus afterward. His demeanor, his responses, everything has been measured, calculated, mature. And that's exactly what you wanted. But the problem is, the team isn't just treating him like a rookie quarterback. They're treating him like the franchise savior. And when ownership starts clearing the runway that aggressively for one guy, it alienates everyone else. That's not Sanders' fault, but it is now his reality. Because when you're the anointed one, you don't just carry expectations. You carry resentment. You carry the pressure of proving that this trust is warranted. And the second you look unsure or hesitant or disconnected from your teammates, that spotlight turns, which brings us to the most fragile part of this whole dynamic, the locker room. It doesn't matter how many targets Sanders throws to which receivers. It doesn't matter how many touchdowns or completions he racks up in the stat sheet. If the locker room senses that the quarterback is protected while others are punished, you've lost the room. Full stop. That's where coaches usually step in, to be the bridge, to keep things grounded. And that's exactly what Stefanski tried to do. By backing Jeudy, by acknowledging frustration, by not pretending the blow-up didn't happen. And for that, according to reports, Haslam threatened him. Let's sit with that for a moment. An NFL head coach, trying to maintain culture, trying to support his team, was reportedly threatened by ownership for defending a player that clearly needed someone in his corner. That's not just overreach. That's dysfunction at the highest level. It sends a message to the locker room, to the staff, to the fans. This is no longer about football. It's about control. You support the wrong guy, you're out. You show frustration. Even if it's justified, you're a problem. You call it like it is, you're expendable. That culture, it's toxic. And worse, it's unsustainable. Because the NFL doesn't just reward talent. It rewards teams that know how to weather the emotional storms. Teams that can fight in the locker room one day and rally together the next. Right now, Denver doesn't look like that team. Right now, they look like a group that's splintering from the inside out. The next 5 games, they're not just a test of leadership. Jeudy has to decide whether to keep fighting, or quietly count down the days until he's traded. Whether he can push through the noise, show value, and make himself impossible to ignore again, or whether this whole saga becomes the last chapter of his Broncos story. Shedeur has to prove this team is really his, not just by staying composed, but by actively rebuilding trust with veterans who may feel pushed aside. That's what real leadership looks like. Not just handling the easy moments, but repairing the broken ones. And Stefanski? He's out of time. He either reclaims his authority as the leader of this team, or he becomes another footnote in an ownership group that's made its priorities clear. You don't threaten your head coach and expect things to stay quiet. You don't ice out one of your highest profile players and think the rest of the roster won't take notice. These things don't happen in isolation. They echo, they compound, and eventually they explode. This story isn't just about Shedeur Sanders and Jerry Jeudy. It's about what kind of franchise Denver wants to be. Do they want to be the team that builds around leadership, that manages conflict, that rebuilds chemistry under pressure? Or are they content to be the team that picks favorites, silences dissent, and protects optics over reality? Because the NFL will expose that truth one way or another. So now we want to hear from you. Was Jeudy wrong to blow up? Was Stefanski right to back him? Is Haslam's involvement helping or hurting this team? Can Shedeur Sanders really lead this group through all the noise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you've been watching this story unravel week by week. Share this if you've had opinions about Denver's direction lately. And subscribe. Because if this is how messy things are mid-season, just wait until the offseason hits.